Good morning, Miami. Good morning, Miami. That way. Welcome to day 2 of the conference. My name is Scott O'Connell. I'm with the Minnesota Twins, former president of ALSD, and I'd like to, at this point in time, recognize the current president, Greg Hanrahan, over here enjoying his breakfast. Did not know I was going to call him out. Go ahead, Greg, stand up. You're welcome. You're welcome. Great day today, league day. Probably the most exciting and fun day of the conference when we get a chance to all split off and get with our teammates from our respective sports and talk about the task at hand and maybe solve all the world's problems in one day here at ALSD. It's also the second day of the Design and Build Forum, which got off to a roaring start yesterday. A lot of great meetings, a lot of great information being put forth yesterday, and hope you had a chance to absorb some of that. Before we get going on our league day, we've got a couple of really dynamite opportunities here today, speakers to enjoy and get off to a good start. I want to remind you that tomorrow is the Wear Your Team Logo Day. So in case you didn't bring your team logo, there's I think some stores locally you could probably buy some Marlins gear.
Buy a Marlins.
Jerry, I don't have your money. But if you get a chance, tomorrow you're supposed to wear your logo wear, and at the end of the day, if you want to get rid of it, they're going to donate it to some of the local shelters here. And you never know, pretty soon you'll see, New Jersey Devil jerseys walking down the streets of Miami Beach. Really want to thank the Dolphins yesterday, and what a great tour of Hard Rock, and what a beautiful facility that is going to be when it's all done. Let's give the Dolphins a round of applause for last night's event. Well, without further ado, let's get going on today, and we're going to continue to have people file in. I'd like to just again remind you, there's plenty of seats up front. Come on in and enjoy the show. At this point in time, like the opportunity, met him just briefly. Seems like a fantastic man. Looking at his bio, he's accomplished so much so soon in his lifetime. John Collins is our guest speaker to start the day off as CEO of On Location Experiences. They're the hospitality entity with the NFL, and he just promised me that we would have good weather for the Super Bowl in Minnesota. I appreciate that, John. And that and those free tickets you mentioned. But John and I joined the On Location Experiences in December of 2015, overseeing the company's expansion in the travel, hospitality, and events industries, deepen its existing core business, creating unlimited new opportunities tied to major events like the Pro Bowl, the Super Bowl, and all the great things that the NFL does on a yearly basis. This is his expertise and his experience. John has helped position OLE as a premium experiential hospitality business, providing exceptional opportunities each and every year. John came to OLE from the NHL, where he served as the Chief Operating Officer for 9 years. He was the architect of a brand and business strategy that helped transform the NHL and drove unprecedented levels of popularity and, most of all, financial growth. In fact, during John's tenure, the NHL grew from a $2 billion business to a $4 billion business, and was not once but twice recognized as the Sports League of the Year. Quite an accomplishment. You got to thank, obviously, his efforts to make that happen. His accomplishments included a $2.2 billion media rights deal with NBC, $5.2 billion landmark rights agreement with the Rogers Network, and groundbreaking $1 billion digital media rights partnership with MLB Advanced Media. Prior to joining the NHL, John was a senior executive with the NFL for 15 years, so he's been around the block. And during that period of time, he was appointed the CEO and president of the Cleveland Browns in 2004 to 2006.
Easy there.
I left the pause for you to fill that in. But I want to bring up John Collins at this time, and also Troy Kirby, our ALSD board member, great guy, and renowned Tao of Sports podcaster to start our day off. John, welcome.
Good, how are you doing? I guess we should start off by saying that, Cleveland?
When I talked to Bill Dorsey and said that we were going to set this up, that really I just had to ask one question and you would just talk the entire time, which was, so tell us about yourself. So tell us about yourself.
I got into this business because you know, I wanted to do something different. There were two conversations that kind of resonated in my head. First was when I left the NFL and went over to the Cleveland Browns. I was there for maybe 4 months. Roger Goodell, who at the time was the COO of the NFL, called me and said, so really, do the club guys work that hard? And I said, well, you know, they don't really work the way we work at the league. I mean, if you consider going to practice with the owner like part of your job, like you have to go, but you don't really have to do anything, right? You're throwing the football and something. I said, but it's a totally different thing. I said, in fact, Roger, I'm embarrassed about how important I thought my job was at the NFL. Now that I'm out of the league, like, they never think about the league, right? They don't care about the league, they don't think about the league. The only time they really think about the league is when you're screwing it up for the clubs. So, you know, that was the first sort of, you know, bit of humble pie that I really ate. And then the second was when I came into this business, the reason why I did it was because I went to, you know, I went to a bunch of conferences like you know, but in particular, I went to the Allen & Company conference, the baby one, not the big one. And they really took care of you. Like, they had everything laid out. They figured out exactly what time I missed the opening dinner. I came to the event. You know, when I got to my hotel room, they had like a cold glass of milk, a warm cookie, right, and a nice note from Allen & Company, kind of welcoming me to the conference. And I thought about how different that was compared to the way we used to take care of people at the league, right? Like, you know, even your big sponsors or your network rights holders, you just throw tickets at them. You know, it's like, here's your tickets to the game. Oh God, you need a tailgate party. Here's your tailgate party. Like, don't call me anymore, right? Like, I'll see you after the game. And I just felt like there was a huge opportunity to do something different, and it was very much part of my DNA, both at the league and at the NHL, because when you're at a league office, you're not actually running the games, right? You're just kind of running you're trying to create revenue opportunities around the intellectual property of the games. Very different than what you guys do, which is much more, you know, on the ground, you know, direct sort of relationship with that customer, and I think in some ways has, you know, a lot more skin in the game than what you do at the league. Sorry, Bobby. You know, I saw Bobby Gal sneak in.
But with On Location in general, I mean, you guys have a unique partnership with the NFL because you're partially owned. How does that really work when it comes to the relationship of being able to operate, the flexibility, and what you're able to do with your company?
Look, you know, we haven't totally figured out our business model yet, right? So we're still evolving. But I think that, you know, the partnership with the NFL is the most critical piece of that company, and is really where, at the moment, all the value really is, right? So I think, you know, we think about ourselves like we're a content company, right? Experiences, content, not that different than, you know, we celebrate around the game, right? So we try to position ourselves inside the league office like we're taking care of all the things around the game, so that the league can, in particular, the league event group can focus on the game, right? Game operations. You know, our three core capabilities as we're building out now are really in sales, and that's everything from, you know, premium sales to ticket sales to sponsorship sales, which is a big piece of it. Really live event production. So we have three production companies that we brought on as part of, you know, within the first 3 months of operation, because we wanted to be able to have a lot of credibility in terms of building out those experiences. And I know you want to talk about it, but we got some world-class people there. And the third piece is travel management, right? Really having expertise in terms of how you take care of the customer, right? From the time they're leaving their house all the way until the time they're back in their house. And so we've made those three strategic investments, but it makes us, it gives us a very different business model than I think some of the people who, you know, people typically would think about as our competitors, right? So that's when I said when we're still trying to figure out the model, we're still trying to figure out the model.
Some of this still come back to the idea that we've got to make sure that it's a safe transaction for the customer as well. that they feel that they're facilitated, because even if it's not the NFL or even if it's not on location, they still think about it being a brand.
Absolutely. I think those are the two. So having the authenticity, the official status, working directly with the rights holder, to me, with my background, from the leagues, that's sort of critically important. I think when I think about it in terms of the NFL, they're looking at it and they're saying, okay, it's our IP, it's the Super Bowl, it's the biggest event, right? For them, it's one of the biggest events in the country, one of the biggest events in the world. And really the analysis that we did with the NFL was it's a $350 million sort of hospitality opportunity, of which the league was capturing less than half of the value, right? So a lot of that value was leaking out to third parties. But that was also, as you suggest, it was really creating an opportunity to dilute a lot of sponsor relationships. It was creating fan experience issues all over the place, right? Because the fans were basically doing everything they needed to do, save their money, spend their money to get to the Super Bowl, and they were realizing what they were getting was not, in fact, what they were hoping to be able to get.
Lawsuits,
Yeah, a lot of that. So I think there was, and then, so that was just kind of the ticketing is only like the first domino that kind of falls. There's a lot of other issues. And then we looked at the game day experience, and we're saying, look, the league in San Francisco, 70,000 people were coming into Levi Stadium. It's a great stadium, it's a great experience, it's Super Bowl Sunday, it's phenomenal. The league did a great job, does a great job with the 10,000 VIPs that they have, including owners and corporate partners, and they're in the big tent right in front of the building, and if you're invited to that, right, it's the best. But what are the other 50, 60,000 people doing? And when we did kind of a heat map, we showed the league, how many of those people were basically beginning their Super Bowl Sunday experience, game day experience, right, in a parking lot under a tent in a party given by some third party, totally not affiliated with the league. And then we, talked to a lot of the clubs, and we talked about, with Bobby and his team, we talked to, probably half the league said we don't even take, the clubs were saying we don't even take our best customers to the Super Bowl. Because when they come with us, they're used to being able to get into the locker room, they walk on the field, we kind of let them do whatever they want. They have a phenomenal experience when they're working with us. We don't want to show them how little juice we actually have at the Super Bowl, right? So, we don't go. And then the other half of the league says we go, we'll bring 50 or 100 people, but basically on Saturday night, we'll do a dinner in a hotel ballroom because we can't get we can't get a reservation at a restaurant for 50 or 100 people. We can't get tickets to the DirecTV party. We don't know who to call. And on Sunday, we'll do a game day brunch in that same hotel ballroom because we can't get 50 or 100 tickets to the NFL's tailgate party. So you have all these other third parties who are basically leveraging their corporate business around the Super Bowl, and yet the 32 clubs who own the league, and their crown jewel is the Super Bowl, they're not able to leverage the Super Bowl in the same way to drive their business. So that was the premise really for the second bite of the apple with the NFL. So the company got spun out of the NFL. It was a small division, 3 people inside the NFL's event department. And then, I joined. 2 private equity firms kind of took it out. The league retained 20% ownership. And then the second bite of the apple was when we went back to the league and then ultimately to the ownership and laid out that plan and said, we're gonna fix that. We're gonna try to attack that plan for you, create that value equation. And the 32 NFL owners voted to give us an additional 6,000 tickets, right? Which is, again, just table stakes in terms of what you can do. So now we have a 15-year license with the NFL with probably, depending on the size of the stadium, Minneapolis will be a little bigger. We probably have 20% of the inventory in the game. And we work really closely with the league to make sure that, we're beginning to differentiate what that inventory is, right? So we want a combination of the best, and we want it exclusively so that we can create experiences around that. We work really closely with the league to build out hospitality areas, so first choice on hotels, and in fact manage the whole hotel inventory. That's why the Anthony travel piece was so important. Our ability to collect some of the best venues in the marketplace, to be able to do not just tailgate parties, but Super Bowl music festival like we did last year with Chainsmokers, Bruno Mars, Taylor Swift on Friday, Saturday night.
Does this also translate to the NFL draft? I mean, we look at the Super Bowl as the big event, but the NFL draft had just as many people go through this year and set records. I assume that this is where it's going. It's not going to be
I mean, the Super Bowl is such an economic force. It's hard, it's like the gift that keeps giving. You can just focus on that and you have a great business. But you're right, it absolutely is supposed to be extended across all the league's events. The league has done a great job taking the draft kind of out of a ballroom and beginning to bring it into a theater, and now they're taking it on the road and doing it outdoors. So that opportunity only really grows, both in terms of staging the event, but also beginning to work with the 32 clubs to figure out how they want to really execute around that event. When I was at the NHL, it was a completely different model for the draft than the NFL's draft. The NHL, actually I've come to really appreciate it as a pretty cool draft because they have everybody in one building and then they do it in an arena and the arena's filled and you have fans in there and it's a phenomenal experience. But really it's the first and probably only time that the NHL family gets together. So it's a pretty unique opportunity. For the NFL, right, all the clubs are in their own war rooms and really what's happening at the central draft site is really just a shell, an administrative shell. But that administrative shell creates all the excitement for the fans and the networks and everything else. So the league actually has an unbelievable opportunity to begin to bring fans in from all 32 clubs to really experience that event and not just do it for that local market.
Isn't there a vested interest in the NFL of actually bussing in Jets fans though? Because they do make the NFL draft what it is, right?
I grew up as a Giant fan, so I can appreciate the whole Jet thing.
Utter disappointment your entire life. So what are some of the challenges that you see moving forward with whether it's on location or just the experience in general of kind of getting that out there and using that inventory that's available?
I think it's really just communicating, letting fans, corporate clients, the clubs really understand what the potential is. I think that there is so much opportunity to reinvent the business. A part of the business, you don't have to reinvent the entire business. I mean, there are major economic engines in the ticketing business that are going to be there forever, and they're very profitable. They're bigger than we're ever going to be. The StubHubs, the Ticketmasters, SeatGeeks, Vivid. I mean, they're all there to create that sort of ticketing portal and that exchange. But if you want more than that, and for the big events, I think fans really do want more of that, right? They want that. Everybody wants access, right? And so that access can be delivered on multiple levels depending on the experience that you want and what you're willing to pay. So I think as we drill down on that, there's just so much opportunity to improve the fan experience and work really closely with the clubs on it. In the NFL, one of the things that we've been working again with Bobby's group on is this idea of beginning to build out almost kind of a membership club, right? So the Super Bowl never has an on sale, right? So fans actually don't really know. It's never been an on sale, right? U2 goes on world tour, there's an on sale, they sell $100 million worth of tickets and they're mostly done. That never has happened for the Super Bowl. Fans think about going, but they really don't know how to go. And while Ticketmaster, StubHub, a lot of those portals have a lot of credibility now. And so fans don't question the idea of going through them to buy their tickets. All they're really getting are tickets, right? So how do you open that up? There's so much opportunity just working inside the NFL's ecosystem, right? 150 million fans in the US tune in every weekend, right? Season ticket holders, PSL holders, suite holders throughout all 32 clubs who would like to extend the opportunity to continue with their fans' passion for football all the way through the ultimate event, the Super Bowl, whether or not their team is actually going. So, as the NFL begins to think about their ecosystem and how to really control the value in that ecosystem a little more directly, that's what I see the opportunity, right? That's how we're going to help facilitate it, not just thinking through it and actually doing the work, but also building out those experiences to make them available to the fan.
Sometimes the NFL doesn't get the credit it deserves of being forward thinking. A lot of people think it's kind of maybe a little older, it takes a little more time, but doesn't this kind of come in the transition that this could be something that other leagues are going to copy simply because if you've got the World Series or the All-Star Game or you've got the NHL Finals, you want to actually be able to control your inventory?
Yeah, look, I think the NFL gets a lot of credit for a lot of things and a lot of blame for other things. But, I think the model of the NFL you know, was only capturing half of the economic value of their crown jewel event, the Super Bowl. You know, together with the league, we kind of put that value back in their ecosystem and created huge experiences beyond that, which really bettered the whole fan experience, created a better environment for corporate partners, whether it's the league partners or the club partners, allowed the clubs to be able to activate and leverage the Super Bowl the way third parties were leveraging the Super Bowl to drive their business, and ultimately, you know, returned a huge amount of value, economic value, back to the league. I think that's you know, for us, that's a model that we could take to anybody, right? Anybody, you know, the NFL is, you know, in this country is the best at sort of leveraging their IP, and so that notion that even with the NFL, there still is an opportunity like this opportunity that exists with the Super Bowl. I think that's a model that everybody's going to want to begin to understand and begin to think about how they could apply those same learnings to their situation.
Yeah, you've been part of another innovation with the NFL that you didn't really mention, which is NFL Films. Kind of, you know, talk about your experience there. I mean, you knew Steve Stample.
Yeah.
Talk about how that actually transitioned.
Well, it goes back a long ways. So, but look, whenever anybody asks me what it was like to work for NFL Films, like I grew up as, you know, as a kid, right, trying to run against my brother in our bedroom. I'd dive into the bottom bunk of the bunk bed in slow motion because that's the way NFL Films would do it, with that music kind of playing through your head and the voice of God and all that kind of stuff. So I grew up as a fan of the game through pretty much the lens of NFL Films. And so when I got a chance to work for them, and my job, you know, was basically I would sit in the room with Steve and all the fellow, you know, artists and filmmakers, and they would kind of rip through all the things that they wanted to do in terms of films that they wanted to make, and I had to go find the money, right? So it was like working for Walt Disney when I think Walt Disney was running the company. I mean, you had somebody who was, you know, was really the heart of the NFL, was the soul in terms of the game, had such great admiration and respect for the players and the coaches and really what it took. It was an amazing, you know, just an amazing experience. He was a one-of-a-kind kind of guy. You know, very few guys in any industry really had that level of, and it was so pure. He was, he could care less about research. He didn't really care about the business other than funding his films. And those films, you know, I'm not sure anyone had a greater role in helping to build the image and the brand of the NFL than NFL Films. I mean, there's a lot of people who get a lot of credit for what the NFL has become, but I think you have to put NFL Films and Steve Sable and his dad, Ed Sable, you know, right up there with anyone else. You know, Pete Rozelle and Roone Arledge and right, all those great innovations.
Well, fantastic stuff, John. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.